After blowback for his total authoritarian nightmare statement about unleashing very big force against protesters of any kind at his birthday military parade, Donald Trump's press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, had to back off. But she went too far, as they often do, calling a reporter's question about protesters stupid, even though anyone who's been following Trump knows that it is not a stupid question. It's a logical question. So take a listen. She was asked about, wait a second, is Trump suggesting that even peaceful protesters are going to have force? And she goes, no, of course not. That's a stupid question.
Thanks so much, Karoline. The president warned that any protests on Saturday would be met with force. Can you clarify what kind of protest President Trump does support or find acceptable?
The president absolutely supports peaceful protests. He supports the First Amendment. He supports the right of Americans to make their voices heard. He does not support violence of any kind. He does not support assaulting law enforcement officers who are simply trying to do their job. It's very clear for the president what he supports and what he does not. Unfortunately for Democrats, that line has not been made clear, and they've allowed this unrest and this violence to continue, and the president has had to step in.
One question. So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the military parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question.
What a stupid question. Except she's mad because she knows it's exactly the right question. Struggling with math continues to be a theme of this press secretary and of this White House more broadly. A reporter responded to Karoline Leavitt claiming that a majority of the Los Angeles protesters are violent, except the math obviously doesn't check out. And you can tell that basic arithmetic is proving very confusing for Karoline Leavitt.
You were just asked about the First Amendment rights issues. In the president's comments yesterday, though, he just said protesters would be strongly dealt with. In your list before, you referred to insurrectionists, rioters, and protesters together. Obviously, they're quite different from your earlier answer. I'm struck by the fact that the president has not at any point said the most important thing here is to protect the First Amendment rights of peaceful protesters. So I'm wondering, where in his hierarchy of interests does he place that? Is the First Amendment protection the most important? Is stopping violence most important? Why is he not out saying all peaceful protesters will be protected?
I think two things can be important at the same time. And the president, as I just answered, supports the right of Americans to peacefully protest. He supports the First Amendment. But that is not the majority of the behavior that we have seen taking place in Los Angeles. We have seen mobs of violent rioters and agitators assaulting law enforcement officers, assaulting our federal immigration authorities. And we have seen, as I said, this goes back to what this administration is trying to do and accomplish, and that's enforcing law and order in our nation's communities. And it's removing public safety threats from communities in Los Angeles.
You're saying the majority have not been peaceful, the majority have been violent.
I just read for you the arrest numbers. We've arrested nearly 400 illegal aliens alone, just illegal aliens who have been arrested in these riots since June 6th, since they began.
Thousands of people on the streets.
Yeah, and we've had hundreds of people who have assaulted law enforcement officers. Are you saying that that's that's appropriate behavior?
No,
Are you
no,
saying?
Of course, it's not about the appropriateness. It's about what do we mean by majority being more than 50%. Now, the hundreds of, quote, illegal aliens that have been arrested, that's the ICE deportation program. That's not actually about the protests. Then you go to the protests and she claims it's a majority when it's, of course, not. These protests are overwhelmingly peaceful. The property crime I denounce, you're gonna get arrested. You're going to have to deal with the consequences. Violence, if you're committing it, you're going to get arrested. You're going to have to deal with the consequences. That's an overwhelming minority. But then, just as importantly, she wants us to believe that the Trump administration cares about violence against law enforcement. We know because of Exhibit A called January 6, 2021, they only care about violence against law enforcement when it's convenient. When it's inconvenient, they don't care. One final clip. Karoline Leavitt won't say whether the Biden autopen conspiracy is an impeachable offense, but says it could be criminal. This coming from the MAGA suck-up seat in the White House press briefing room.
Does he think that Biden allowing, or at least being negligently unaware of this activity was an impeachable offense?
I haven't heard the president address whether it's an impeachable offense, but it could perhaps be a criminal offense, especially on behalf of staffers who may have been utilizing the president's signature without his authority or consent. I understand that Republicans on the Hill are moving in the right direction to call attention to this and to bring in some former White House staffers who clearly knew more than they ever shared and never addressed with the American public. And
let me tell you a little something funny. Whatever you believe about the Biden autopen conspiracy theory, and I don't know what you believe, I'm going to argue that it doesn't matter, because the Biden autopen conspiracy theory is overtly about official acts done while Biden was in office. Trump argued, and the Supreme Court agreed, that official acts can't be considered criminal. If the president does it, it's not illegal. Trump argued it, and the Supreme Court said we generally agree, and MAGA applauded the decision. This entire thing is complete and total nonsense. Our sponsor, Magic Spoon, has been with us a long time. They do the high-protein, zero-sugar cereals and treats, nostalgically reinventing some of my favorite childhood snacks. Many of you know, for me, cereal was not breakfast, it was a snack, and that is still the case. And what Magic Spoon has done is taken your favorite sugary cereals from when you were a kid and turned them into something you can feel good about. Magic Spoon is also launching a brand new high-protein granola, true to the Magic Spoon promise, packed with protein, crunchy, 13 grams of protein, 0 added sugars, and in delicious flavors like dark chocolate almond, honey almond, and peanut butter. They've got their high-protein treats as well, crispy, crunchy, airy, with 12 grams of protein in many flavors. And of course, if you don't love Magic Spoon as much as I do and our team does, Magic Spoon will refund all of your money, no questions asked. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/Pacman, or look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. The link is in the description.